Hello and welcome. My name is Jason Murray. I am a Solutions Readiness Engineer at Cisco, and this video is part of a series of videos I'm doing on migrating and upgrading to UC 9.x. In a couple of previous videos, I covered Communications Manager and Unity Connection. In this particular video, I will cover Presence. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out by going over a few things of what will be covered. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over some things that you're going to be seeing in this particular video. It looks a little bit similar to the ones that I did previously on Unity Connection and Communications Manager. It is going to be a physical to virtual migration, just like the other two are going to be. A little bit different in this particular video since I did cover how to create virtual machines and things like that. We're not actually going to go over how to do that, as well as some of the DRS backups and restores. We're going to kind of just do the upgrade on the particular boxes without going through doing the migration part of it, going to physical to virtual, because I've covered it a couple times already, and it's the same exact process as the other two, as Unity Connection and Presence. So check those two videos out. It goes over DRS backups, restores, and as well as doing the virtual machine creation and installing virtual machine or VMware tools and things like that. So check those two out to get more information on that, because it's exactly the same with Presence. We're just kind of going to go over a little bit of the process of doing the upgrade of Presence from Unified Presence Server to IM and Presence Server, which is just a rebranding of what it is. So check those out for that, but it is going to be a physical to virtual migration. Alright, so the software version that's loaded on our CUP server is 7.0.5. That's where we're coming from, and we're going to be going to version 9. It's going to be called the IM and Presence Server. That's the rebranding of the CUP. And there is no actual direct upgrade according to the Cisco documentation from version 7 to version 9. So we're going to have to hop through version 8 first, and then we can move on to version 9. Now we'll talk about some of the things that you're going to have to deal with, because you're going to have to hop. Is not a direct upgrade, such as licensing and whether you want to do a virtual machine then or wait until you get all the way to version 9. We'll talk about some of that stuff in the video, but that's what we're starting from, 7.0.5. Alright, so let's talk about the hardware now. The MCS that the CUP server is running on is an MCS 7825i5 server, and this particular server does support version 9, so we're good as that goes. But according to this documentation here, you can find out what servers support version 9, what support you have as far as bridge upgrade goes, where you're going to be able to upgrade to version 9, but you won't be able to actually run anything with Presence, so it'll still be down. Just allows you to do a DRS backup, so you can put it in a virtual machine. Some servers aren't supported at all. You can't even go up to version 9. You have to probably stop at version 8 first, do your virtualization, and then move on in and do the upgrade finally in the virtual machine from 8 to 9. So kind of look at the documentation, see where you're at, see what hardware you are, see what you have to do to plan it out. But as far as we're concerned, this one can be fully upgraded all the way to version 9 on this particular server. Alright, so a little bit on licensing, is because we're going to have to do a little bit more with licensing than we did with the previous couple of videos that we did, because this isn't a direct upgrade. You're going to have to actually stop at version 8 or go from version 7, hit version 8, and then you're going to have to do some kind of temporary licensing. So you're going to have to get with Cisco, kind of explain what you're doing. They'll send you some kind of key to allow you to do your migration or your upgrade from version 8 to version 9, because it won't let you do it without doing some sort of licensing. So it's kind of up to you how you want to do that, because you can start at version 8, get licensing on your MCS, and then move to version 9, then virtualize, or you can kind of stop at version 8, virtualize it, and then get your licensing taken care of while it's in a virtual machine and move to version 8 from 9 that way. So once you get to version 9, there's not going to be any licensing that you're going to have to do with the IM and Presence service, because it's all hooked together with Communications Manager. So all your licensing with Communications Manager will be already taken care of. There's no node licensing or anything you have to deal with the Presence server. So there's not anything you have to do in ELM once you get to version 9, because it's all should be taken care of in your communications manager licensing and dealing with Jabber users and whether your different devices are going to be able to do calling and things like that. That'll be handled when you do your communications manager licensing and your user licensing. So nothing you have to worry about in ELM once you get to version 9 for the IAM and presence server. And finally, review all the material as well as this video, Cisco documentation, the links I've shared. Review everything that's out there. Read through the documents thoroughly to be aware of all the different things that you may have to encounter depending on what version of software you're on, what hardware you're on, things like that, so you won't be surprised once you get into the physical part of migrating yourself. So take a look at all that material. Like I mentioned before, there's some things that I'm going to be skipping in this particular video as far as doing your virtual machine creation, doing DRS backups, restores, things like that. I've covered those in the last couple of videos. Those are exactly the same dealing with presence as they are with Unity Connection and Communications Manager. You still go into the DRS, the disaster recovery system, do your DRS backups, create your backup devices, do all those kinds of things that I did in the previous couple of videos, and then doing your particular restores, and then going into vSphere and creating your virtual machines using OVA templates. All those things, I covered a couple times already. It's more redundant to do it in the present server, so to save a little time in this particular video, I'm kind of just going to go through the actual upgrade without doing all those extra things. But if you're curious, if you're just coming to see the present server, check out those other two videos. Those are a couple things that I'm not going to cover in this video, so go ahead and check those out if you haven't seen those yet done. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the upgrade. Alright, so we're on our system now. We've got our CUP client working, we've got our IP communicator, and we tested this in an earlier video that we can chat back and forth and things like that and call from it. So we're going to bring up the presence or the OS administration page, and we're going to log into that so we can do an install of version 8. Right now what we have loaded is version 7.0.5, as you can see on this home screen here, and because we have to jump through 8, there's no direct upgrade to version 9. We have to go to some version of 8. There's no COP file that you need to install like we had with Unity Connection, so we can go straight into the upgrade to version 8. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the same place we always do, go Software Upgrades, and then click on Install Upgrade. And because it is a DVD, we're going to put that in, and then we're going to put the / in the directory, and that's all we really need to do. And we're going to hit Next. In this particular case, I'm using version 8.1.5, 8.5.2, and we're going to install that. You can install whatever version you want, 8.0 or whatever, just to get that interim version in so you can get to 9. Now that it's downloaded, we can see that it's recommending a backup, and we have the option to either do not reboot after upgrade or reboot after upgrade. Since we're not worried about users or anything like that, we're going to go ahead and check the reboot after upgrade so we can have that ready to go. Alright, so this is pretty much doing the upgrade now. So when we come back, we're going to pause, and we're going to come back, and it's going to be at version 8.5, and then we'll do some licensing. Alright, so our system is now upgraded. It's at version 8.5.2. It doesn't have to be that version. Like I said, you can have any version of 8. You just have to go to version 8 before you can go to version 9, because there's no direct upgrade. And because we have to hop through another version, we have to do some licensing. We have to add a kind of a temporary license to the system to allow us to upgrade. So that's what we're going to do now. Now you could do a DRS backup restored into a virtual machine, or you can continue on if your server supports 9. So we're going to go ahead and do a continue on and to install version 9 right now. So we're going to go into the licensing. We're going to go to System, click on the licensing, and then license file upload, and we're going to get the license that Cisco sent us in order to do the upgrade. So we're going to browse for that, and it's on our system here in our licensing folder. And we'll pick the correct one that we've gotten sent, and we will do an upload and continue on with the validation. And in a few seconds it should pop up, give us more detail about the particular license that loaded. So it's good to go. So now we are ready to do our actual upgrade installing. First we got to do it in a COP file. So we're going to go into the OS administration page to do the rest of the task. And then we'll log in with the admin account, or the OS admin account. Let that spin up here for a second. And just like all the other installs that we've done, like we did with version 7, it's all done in the software upgrades menu. So we're going to click on that, click install upgrade. And then we actually are going to have to install a COP file. So this is going to be, unlike 7 to 8, we didn't have to install one, but this time we're actually going to have to install a Cisco option package in order to prepare the system to go from 8 to 9. So we're going to put that, it's on our FTP server, could be a SFTP server, but we're going to go ahead and put all the information in. We're going to hit next. It's going to go out and check and make sure that the actual server is accessible, and it is. We have a refresh upgrade. It tells you it is a refresh upgrade, so there's going to be some reboots going on. So that's the correct file. And then we're going to click next again. It's going to take a little bit to download, so we're going to go ahead and pause just for a second to come back after it's finished validating the file. Okay, so the COP file has been downloaded, validated, so we're going to click next. And now it's going to do the install. So this takes another few minutes or so, so we're going to pause again and come back once it's completed. Okay, so the COP file installed successfully, and Tomcat has been restarted. So we're going to click install another. It's been a few minutes since that's happened, and because of that restart of the Tomcat servers, we're going to have to re-log in to the OS administration page. Needs to re-authenticate us. So now that that is installed successfully, the system is now ready to take on an upgrade file to version 9. So to do that, we're going to go into software upgrades and then the install upgrade option on that menu. And it is a local device. We do have a DVD, so all we have to do is put a / in and it's ready to go. So it's a lot quicker to do it locally than trying to do it off an FTP server or SFTP, and it also takes out that network stuff that's going on in between. It takes a lot less issues. So it does recognize our DVD. We have version 9.0 in there. This would work at any version of 9. Same process. Just happen to using the 9.0 one. And we're going to click next. Let's take a few minutes here, a few seconds to access the upgrade file and then download it. It is local, so it's very quick on this process. And then now it's going to kind of give you some warnings, making sure that you do some backups, other things like that. It also tells you that it is a refresh upgrade. That means there's going to be more reboots than normal, and you have the option to switch to a new version after the upgrade or do not switch. Now keep in mind that even though the switch to upgrade, it still does reboot, so you need to do this during some authorized downtime, not during the day and trying to prepare it, because it will take on do some reboot. So another warning comes up. Just click OK on that. It tells you it is a refresh upgrade. It's going to take multiple reboots to get it done. And now it goes into the reboot, or not the reboot, but the actual install. So it will reboot a few times, but it's going to take quite a while for this to happen. So again, another pause of the video, come back, it'll be all completed. Okay, so now the system is upgraded to 9.0. Now we've done all this on our MCSs. Now, if we're going to P2V, we would do DRS backups and then create a virtual machine and do a restore. But since I've done that a couple times already in this series in Unity Connection Communications Manager, we're kind of skip that step. You can go back and check those out. Same process. But for now, to get things rolling on this particular server, we need to start some services. So we're going to go to the serviceability page of the present server and go into Tools, Service Activation, in order to get some of these services started, because really there's only a few services. There's some new services that's come about because of the new version of Presence. So we've got to get some of those started to get things working with our Jabber client, because now we're moving from CUP to Jabber. So we're going to start some new services. Of course, the presence engine, that's always been there, but that isn't started right now. So we just want to make sure that everything is started that needs to be started. And just for the purposes of this video, we're just going to go ahead and check all the services that we have on the system. You don't necessarily have to do that, but check the ones that you need for your system. Checking all the services is just easy enough. This little warning message here just tells you that it may take a little while to start. Alright, so we got them all activated. So we're going to check out a couple new things in Communications Manager that you're going to see when you now upgrade to version 9 of IM and Presence. It actually added some services. If it was a brand new system, some of these things you would have to actually manually create, but because it was an upgrade, it went ahead and created them on Communications Manager for you. Okay, so because Presence and Communications Manager are more integrated now, we've got some services that we have to create, or that's already been actually created for you because of the upgrade. So user management, user settings, and then UC service. We can click find, and then under here there's a bunch of services that get assigned to your Jabber clients. Now, if this was a brand new system, brand new install, you'd have to go and create these yourself, but because it was an upgrade, it created them for you based off your old settings. So there's also service profiles that get created as well. This is how you assign those services to your particular users, and these do get created and assigned as well. Now, there are some extra things in Communications Manager that doesn't get created, so we're going to go ahead and create one of those services to get the mail store service in here, so you can actually see like visual voicemail and things like that. But these are the 4 services that get created because of the upgrade. If it wasn't an upgrade, you create those manually. So we're going to add a new service called the mail store service. So we just clicked on add, went into next, and then this is just going to be the UC mail store. Just say product type is Exchange, but ignore that. It's nothing to do with Microsoft Exchange or anything like that. So this is going to be the IP address of our Unity connection server, because this is how we're going to see the mail tab within Jabber and be able to see our voicemails that are in there. So we've got that set, got a new service in here, and then we're going to actually assign this to our service profile. So these all get assigned to particular users. They may have different servers for different users, but they all get assigned into a profile, which gets assigned to a user. So we're going to go ahead and check the actual credentials for voicemail. If you don't set it, you'll have to put it in there manually, or you can set it to be based off of your IM and Presence settings, which basically that's what we're going to do in this scenario here. And then there's a mail store setup. We're going to go ahead and check that new one that we just added, because we just added it. It's not assigned to this profile yet. And then our CTI profile, for some reason it gets assigned to another one in this particular upgrade, so we're going to make it all in just this one profile and assign just this one to all of our users. So we're going to make sure all these settings are good. We could also make it default if we wanted to. This is that second one I was talking about, the migration to. See, there's nothing set in this particular profile except that CTI portion. So you can only assign one per user. We're just going to put it all in one profile and assign that to our users. So we're going to go ahead and go into our actual end users and make sure that this particular migration 1 profile is assigned to them. So we've got our user here, and if we scroll down to the bottom here, we can see that it's automatically assigned through the upgrade process. If this was something that was manually done, then you'd have to go in here and set that. But we want all of our settings in this one profile assigned to this user, which gets set to Jabber. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to test the Jabber login, because we've got the cup up and running right now, so we can tell it still says available, so it's sort of working with the cup, but we really want Jabber in there because it gives us some extra features and things like that. So we're going to exit out of this cup client, and then we're going to go into the Jabber client we have installed already. If you don't have installed, install it. Very quick, easy install. And then we're going to select the Cisco Unified Presence and put the actual presence server IP address in there for the IM and presence server. So we'll put that in there, and then we have a domain set up, so we're going to put that in there and click Save. And then we'll log in with the user that we just assigned that profile to, or made sure that it was assigned. We have all the different settings, the UC services assigned to that one profile that's assigned to this particular user. So we'll log in with them, and it takes a few minutes, kind of checks things out, downloads that profile, and sees what profile it is. And once it verifies all the settings, it logs in. So we've got one user already in here. We did have a few more, but they weren't actually set up correctly in the present server. They were just kind of contacts, so they don't show up. There's only one user in here that was really set up and licensed, so that carried on. That's why you only see the one user in there. But if everybody was set up correctly and licensed correctly, then the rest of those users would have showed in the actual contact list. But you could see on the Jabber client, we do have some tabs on the side here. One in particular, remember that one that we set was the mail store tab to set up the voicemail, which is this right here. To get that tab, that's what we set up earlier, the mail store tab. So there's a few settings that you may have to do depending on what version of Jabber you have. There's some settings in the options menu in order to verify your settings or your account in Unity Connection or particular in Communications Manager. You may have to set it up. You may not, depending on the newest versions or whatever you have. But if you do, you can go into the File menu, click Options, and then down here in Phone Accounts, you may have to put your credentials in there as well. If you don't have to, then everything in the back end is set up to authenticate through your present services and things like that. So this particular situation, I have to put some credentials in here. We're going to go ahead and click OK, and then we should be able to get authenticated to the Unity Connection server. And that's pretty much it for upgrading your CUP server to IM and Presence. As you can see, it's more integrated than before into Communications Manager, so there's some extra settings you have to do. And also remember, like I mentioned before, we did not cover doing the DRS backup, restore into a virtual machine and creating virtual machines and stuff like that, but you would have to do that if it was a P2V migration. But we didn't cover it. But check out those other two videos on Unity Connection and Communications Manager. They're basically exactly the same process of doing it as you would do in a CUP server. So it wasn't covered here, as well as licensing. Remember, ELM, you don't have to do anything with licensing with your CUP server at all. In version 9 and above, it's all handled through Communications Manager and how you license your users and what you're going to get. So with that being said, that's pretty much the end of this video. I thank you guys for watching and hope you check us out with other videos. Appreciate it, and thank you for choosing Cisco.